What's up, everyone? Welcome back. So as always, we asked our Twitter followers what they wanted this week's video to be about, and the results came back with how it feels to have depression. Now, we kind of went over symptoms in our very first video, which was the depression test, but today we're going to go a little more in detail. So the first thing that I want to discuss is something that I haven't really seen around, but I know that it's definitely been adamant in my life, and that is confusion. Oftentimes when people are dealing with depression, especially when it comes to the grieving process, it's something that it's hard to get your mind around. It's hard to understand, you know. It's already hard enough to understand it if you don't have it, but when you do have it, you know, and you're living it, it's extremely confusing. So oftentimes people will isolate and try to wrap their head around it and try to grasp it, and you know, and that's where a lot of those times you kind of dwell and the anxiety starts to come in and really eat at your mind, you know, as far as just anything and everything that could possibly go wrong, things that could go right. Why aren't things happening the way that they used to? You know, I mean, your mind is such a powerful tool, and it goes in so many different ways. And it's very confusing because there's so much that we don't know about it. So confusion and isolation are two huge things that happen when depression sets heavily in your life. Another feeling and symptom that we have discussed is odd sleeping patterns. So oftentimes people will have insomnia where it's really difficult to sleep at night. You're tossing and turning, maybe getting a couple hours of sleep, but you're extremely tired the next day because, you know, you're just up all night thinking, wondering, trying to figure it all out. There's also the other side of it where it's sleeping too much. And for me, this happened when I was dealing with the more severe side of depression. And it was like waking up in the morning and just having absolutely no energy to get up. And you take that first step to get up, but then after you get up and brush your teeth, you just immediately have to go back to bed, because it's more than just the thought of not having motivation. It's like a weighted blanket is completely laying on your shoulders, and it's weighing you down so much that the only place that actually feels good is in your bed. So you'll be in bed from, you know, get up at 9 o'clock, go back, sleep until noon, get up again, go back, sleep until 4, and next thing you know, the day is over. And it sucks. So that leads into another symptom that I really want to get across, which are feelings of guilt and worthlessness. Now, for me, guilt is something that definitely weighs heavy, and I'm not exactly sure why. There's not really a reason for me to feel guilty, but for some reason, when that anxiety really sinks in and, you know, and you're really feeling low on yourself, you just feel guilty about, you know, about not having that motivation and that energy. You feel guilty about not having that fire for things that you were passionate about. You feel guilty for about your friends and your family, because you just don't understand why you don't have that motivation and that happiness that everybody else seems to have. Along with guilt is the feelings of worthlessness. And this one is really sad because it's something that, you know, you can't control the thoughts that come in and out of your mind. You know, our mind is a very mysterious thing, but when you get to a place where you feel worthless, it's not that you're trying to be selfish, but it's just that you feel as if you are a burden, and as if, you know, maybe it would be better for everybody else if you were not here. That's where those suicidal thoughts start to sink in, and that's where it becomes really alarming. And it's really important to be self-aware of that and start to really take steps, because the truth is that you're not worthless. You know, we have that little seed of faith deep within, and that hope, you know, we know better, but when those negative thoughts just weigh really heavily on our mind and on our hearts, it's really hard sometimes to get out of it, and you know, and we always try to find an answer, and sometimes that is a very unfortunate way of thinking. And as I've said before, it's very important that when it gets to that point of depression, that you really analyze it and kind of research a little bit, but more importantly, that you reach out to somebody, because there are people all around that want to help and want to understand. And if you can get the right person that can really understand where you're coming from and be able to help you kind of get over that and know your true value, you are that much closer to reaching a better daily living. Because the truth is, you know, we're not worthless, you're not worthless, you know, it's just your mind playing tricks on you. But it's definitely a symptom of depression. Another symptom that I want to discuss are odd emotions. Now, when people say depression, automatically, especially those who haven't really dealt with depression, say it's just sadness. And that couldn't be far from the truth. Yes, sadness plays a big part, but it's more than just being sad. It's more than just, you know, life situations happening and being sad about it. It's a lot heavier than that. And along with sadness, there comes irritability and frustration and anger. I mean, you're angry about being angry, and you're confused, and you're trying to just, again, grasp everything. And it can just take you into a cycle and down that rabbit hole. And you know, it's a whirlwind of emotions. You kind of go through all of the emotions, but it's more internal for the most part. And then once it gets to a certain extent, it kind of oftentimes will blow up in real life, you know, on the outside. And that's something that people, you know, want to try to stay away from, which again is why people will isolate. So those are a couple different symptoms that I really wanted to get across, because they are ones that definitely have affected my life, and I know that they have affected many others. You know, it's in research. You can talk to doctors about it, therapists, and it's just the reality of it. But that's just the beginning of realizing that there's more. So being self-aware is that first step to really getting yourself to a better place, and mentally, because it's a very internal battle, as I like to say. So I hope that kind of reaches out to some people. I really want to know how depression affects you. So if you have a certain symptom that I didn't discuss today, please comment it below, because there are so many people who deal with depression in a very different way. And it's important that we get as much symptoms out there so people realize that they're not alone, because that is one of the biggest things with depression, is that it's a very consuming thing, and it makes you feel like you're alone until you start to realize that that's not true. And so I really want to hear your guys' feedback. Remember to follow us on Twitter so you can participate in our polls for our next video, and share with your friends. If there's somebody that you know that might need to see this, share it away. So thanks again for tuning us with this week, and we will see you next time.